Gonna need a bit more information about that magic box. Science is pretty great, and it's a fundamental part of the human experience. Even if you have no interest in conducting scientific research yourself, it still plays a major role in your life. Why, without science, there'd be no antibiotic-resistant bacteria, no malware harvesting and selling your personal information. Wait, Kevin, who wrote this script, this is not sounding good at all. There'd be no threat of nuclear annihilation. Fuck it. I'm gonna go all Ted Kaczynski. I mean, not with the bombing, but I'm just gonna go live in the woods, where nuclear annihilation would still get me. But at least there'd be no malware. Okay, maybe those aren't the best examples, but I'm also hoping that I don't actually need to sell you on the idea that science is an overall good thing. I was just being sarcastic, Kevin. Science is awesome. Like, antibiotic-resistant bacteria, I mean, that's because of antibiotics, and antibiotics are great.
Antibiotics.
If you want to go and live naked in a cave, bathe in the same river that you use for drinking water, at least, I mean, that's okay. That's okay, it's a river. Just do it downstream. If you're going to take a shit in the river, why would you take a shit in the river? You'd just take a shit in the woods, wouldn't you? But look, if you're going to, theoretically, take a shit in the river, do it downstream. Drink the water from upstream, you'll be fine! Hopefully, I think. And use sharp rocks to hunt for small game, and that you have to eat raw, be my guest. The rest of us will be enjoying the comforts of modern life, like watching videos on YouTube about the biggest acts of fraud perpetrated by members of the scientific community.
Wait a minute!
Wait, is that all right? Kevin, that was the most circuitous route to talking about what we're actually talking about today that I've ever heard of. Let's go. Top of the leaderboard. There's an organization called Retraction Watch that tracks scientific research papers that have been retracted. I don't know what it is about anesthesiologists in particular, but for some reason they seem to be battling it out for the title of scientist with the most retracted papers. Really? Anesthesiologists, as in the guys who like gas people to sleep, which apparently is extremely complicated because it's not just like gas and stuff. There's like these three things, like the painkiller, the thing that knocks you out, and a paralytic or something that all worked. Am I thinking about executions?
Yes. Yes, you are.
No, I think this is anesthesiology. And it apparently is very complicated and very well paid. I kind of thought, it's really bad, but I thought, like, no offense to nurses, but I thought it was, and an anesthesiologist, apparently.
I'm offended.
I kind of thought that was the sort of thing a nurse would do, but apparently it's a highly trained doctor. I've managed to be offensive to both doctors and nurses at the same time somehow, haven't I? Apologies. Just before we continue with today's video, I do want to take a moment to tell you about our fantastic sponsor today, and that is Ridge. Look, if you're looking for a gift for a loved one, or maybe just for yourself, look no further than today's sponsor, Ridge, and they make, they're just fantastic wallets and key cases that, I mean, if someone gave this to you for Christmas, you'd be very happy. It looks very neat. It holds all your cards. It's got this RFID protection. It holds 12 cards, by the way. I think this is not one I use, but yeah, I have my one here, which just has a reasonable... I've got 3 cards in here, 2 bank cards and my ID. Well, no, my driver's license, I think. And a little cash on the back as well. It's a fantastic gift. Plus, there's the key case. They also have that. Oh, this is another empty one in their new style, but yeah. Here's my key case. It holds 6, these are my work keys. It holds 6 keys in here, and it's all like, it's like a little penknife. No jangling around, all very neat and easy to use. Plus, you get 30% off when you purchase the Ridge wallet and the key case together, which is nice. Plus, they got 30 colors and AirTag attachments, meaning you'll never lose your essentials. And this, as I was saying, is the new Hyperline collection. It's inspired by high-performance gear, and they really light up. There's one, I'm not sure if I'd use this one myself. This looks like something more my wife would use, but I like this lime one. I actually like the leather one. It's not even on my list of things to talk about today, but I'm thinking about switching to this leather one because I think it's really awesome. They're sleek, they're scratch resistant, they feel great in your hands. It's a great accessory for any outfit. Over 3 million customers, 80,000 5-star reviews. So make this holiday season unforgettable with Ridge. Use my link, ridge.com/blaze, and get up to 30% off through December the 20th. And by using my link, ridge.com/blaze, you can enter your email for a free chance to win a Ridge bundle worth $4,000. No purchase needed. Don't miss that deal. There's a link below. And now back to today's video. All 3 of these top spots are held by anesthesiologists. I'll get there in the end.
No, you won't.
With Yoshitaka Fujii having been ranked number 1 for over a decade. Fujii earned his PhD back in 1991, and by 1993 he was already
Told you.
He was already falsifying his data. Really? But once you falsify data, like no one's listening to Andrew Wakefield's... I mean, people listen to Andrew Wakefield because he's a conspiracy theory moron, in my opinion. But like, no, if he published an academic paper, no one's publishing that shit. If he wrote an academic paper, I should say no one's publishing it because it's Andrew Wakefield. He's the MMR guy. Also known as a bellend, in my opinion. Most, if not all, of his retracted papers relate to the drug granistatron, an anti-nausea drug given to patients after chemotherapy. It was originally patented in 1985, and in 1991 it was approved for use by the World Health Organization under the name Kytril. It's possible that Fujii was just an overzealous advocate for the medication, but my personal and unproven speculation is that there might have been money involved. Smells that way, doesn't it, Kevin, in our opinion?
You smell that? What is that?
What?
What's that smell?
The cologne?
No.
Opportunity.
No. Money.
Oh, okay.
I smell money.
His research was being published shortly after the patented drug was released, so the timing certainly seems a little suspicious. The bright side is that the fraud perpetrated by Fujii wasn't especially dangerous. Kytril was an approved drug, and he was recommending it for its intended use. He was just overselling its effectiveness over other medications to a pretty extreme degree. Other researchers began becoming suspicious back in 2000, and a letter to the editor making allegations against Fujii was published in Anesthesia and Analgesia, a peer-reviewed journal for anesthesiologists. Unfortunately, nobody really took the concerns seriously. In fact, despite the volume of papers that Fujii was releasing about the medication, people didn't seem to be paying attention to them at all. The papers were rarely cited, which is one of the things that allowed Fujii to get away with things for so long. You see, he wasn't just manipulating data, he was fabricating entire studies. Isn't number of citations... I don't know much about the academic world, but I remember, vaguely that the number of times a paper is cited, the more important it is, or, the more prestigious, or something like that, right? Academics, help me out in the comments, but I, have friends who are, academics, but I don't really know much about it. I usually just get confused because they're all a bit too intelligent for me. It's like, okay, I have no idea what you're up to, but it sounds complicated. In 20 years, I'll make a really dumbed-down YouTube version of what you're talking about.
It's what I do.
His papers would be really vague about where and when the studies were performed, making it difficult for people to confirm whether or not the trials actually took place. He was also adding co-authors from other medical institutions to his papers to give the impression that the research had been part of a larger effort, with research performed across multiple hospitals and labs. Of course, this wasn't the case. Most of the time, the research hadn't happened at all, let alone in multiple hospitals, and the co-authors had no idea that Fujii had added their names and forged their signatures on the publications. Had the papers been cited more frequently, then it would likely have been brought to their attention, but like I said, people weren't really paying any attention to Fujii's work. For a full decade after the initial allegations of fraud were made, Fujii continued to have his work published and largely ignored by medical journals. It wasn't until 2010 that an investigation finally began, and by 2012, they had the unbelievable results of that investigation. The Japanese Society of Anesthesiologists investigated 212 of the 249 papers that Fujii had written. That's an extremely high number of papers. And if it's really 212 were just made up, or whatever, what? Of that, they found that 172 were fraudulent, and 37 they couldn't conclusively determine, leaving only 3 out of the 212 papers as being accurate. Further investigations have raised the numbers. I mean, at that point, the 3 is just it's just by chance. They raised the numbers to 183 definitely fabricated and 47 suspicious but unproven, accounting for 230 of the 249 papers that Fujii authored over his entire career. Like I said, this wasn't just falsifying data either. It was shown that 126 of the papers were completely fabricated, with the report stating, "It is as if someone sat at a desk and wrote a novel about a research idea." Honestly though, I mean, you could be like, "Hey, ChatGPT, can you make me up a story about a research?" They'd be like, "Absolutely." It would come up with false authors, it would come up with false referencing, then you just submit it to a journal and see what happens. We're all fucked. Those are some pretty impressive numbers for fraud, but in July of 2023, another anesthesiologist decided to steal the title for the most retracted papers, and this time, the research wasn't nearly as harmless. Oh, that name, Jesus Christ, Joaquin, right? But it's spelt Joachim. I thought Joachim Phoenix was an actor for a very long time, but it's Joaquin Phoenix. but I like Joachim. Joachim Boldt was a German anesthesiologist who had been falsifying and fabricating data since 1986. Boldt's work focused primarily on hydroxyethyl starch. It's an intravenous solution used to prevent shock and boost blood pressure during surgery, which certainly sounds like a good thing. And according to Boldt's papers, it was a great thing. His research was used as part of the Foundation for Global Standards on the Use of Hydroxyethyl Starch, showing that it was more beneficial than cheaper solutions with no increased risk. But this was all a total lie. Not only had Boldt falsified his data to get the desired results, he would actually publish duplicate papers as if they were different studies.
They're the same picture.
There would be minor changes in the paper, such as altering the demographic info of the test subjects, but by publishing duplicate results, he was essentially trying to give his research more weight than all the others. Have I missed a trick here?
Probably.
When you submit a paper to a journal, like a peer-reviewed journal, it's not like you just get in. Like, there's people at that journal who are going to look at your work and decide whether it's worthy of publication in their journal, right?
Well, for most journals, yes. But there are journals that are just out to make a buck, and they'll publish anything you send them.
In 2010, the hammer started to come down on Boldt as his studies were clear outliers compared to any of the other research on the same solution. When Boldt's results were taken as part of the aggregate, the overall conclusion drawn by various medical associations around the world was that hydroxyethyl starch was safe and effective. However, when his papers were removed, the clear and unequivocal result was that the solution caused a sharp increase in the risk of kidney failure and death among patients. Fucking hell. So you've made this up, apparently. So far, it seems like this has been proven out, but just covering my bases here. And it's led to people's death? That's fucked up, my dude. The other guy was like about nausea and selling a drug. This is bad, my dude.
You think?
And that it was less effective than the safer and cheaper solutions that existed. Boldt's fall from grace was described as the biggest medical research scandal since Andrew Wakefield, the doctor who lost his medical license for falsely trying to link the MMR vaccine to cases of autism. Yeah, the guy I mentioned earlier, absolute bell end, in my opinion. But also, I mean, it might be your opinion, and my opinion, that could be an objective fact in our opinion. Absolute bell, in my opinion.
This guy's a real jerk.
Bold was stripped of his medical license, excellent. Lost his job as a professor, brilliant. And has been opened up to both criminal and civil prosecution, good. Though I can't find the results of any such trials. Getting loosey with the goosey.
How loose is your goose? Our goose is totally loose.
Let's move on to something a little more light-hearted, thank God, the medical malpractice. This time we'll be heading to the fun and exciting world of particle physics, circa 1999. Nothing like the world of particle physics to get the mind awash with joy. Viktor Ninov was a renowned physicist and a researcher known for his co-discovery of Darmstadtium, Roentgenium, and Copernicium, elements 110, 111, and 112. Oh my god. Dude, discovered 3 elements? Holy shit.
Elementary.
He was hired by the University of California, Berkeley to aid in their search for other super heavy elements. That's a good university, I've heard of Berkeley. Berkeley was currently in a race against a Soviet team led by Yuri Oganessian and Georgy Flerov. This script has more hard to pronounce things than anything in a long time that I've recorded. And no, I haven't looked up any of these.
Oh, shocker.
And no, I'm not going to. I'm so sorry, but I just don't want to. I just don't want to. I'm really sorry. I just don't. No. Who had disputed Berkeley's discovery of element 106, Seaborgium. It was a cool name for an element, isn't it? It was a German team out of the research center, GSI, that discovered elements 107 through 112, and Viktor had been poached from the Germans for use as Berkeley's secret weapon to put them back on top of the super heavy element game. But Viktor had his own secret weapon. He brought with him a data analysis program known as Goosey. Goosey had been developed at GSI, and bringing Viktor to America was a larger win than the Berkeley team originally realized. Not only was the only one among them who knew how to use the program, he was actually the only one on his GSI team responsible for the previous discoveries that knew how to use it as well. It's almost like he could just claim Goosey was giving him any data he wanted, and there was no way for anybody to verify his claims. That sounds very sketchy. Look, I know nothing about academia, as I've already mentioned, but if I looked at a journal and he was like, yeah, we've got this magic box, I'd be like, gonna need a bit more information about that magic box before we publish your paper, mate. The Berkeley team had decided to test a hypothesis proposed by Polish physicist Robert Smolanczuk. Robert believed that element 118 could be easily created by smashing krypton-86 and lead-208 isotopes together. Smashing isotopes together is how those super heavy elements are created, but nobody actually thought it would work with these two in particular. Still, it was going to be simple to test since krypton beams and lead targets are both easy to manage. They also weren't allowed to use radioactive elements in their brand new cyclotron yet, so it was really the only option they had. Even Victor was quoted as saying that he didn't believe the experiment would work, but that he thought it would be fun to find out exactly how Robert had been. wrong Robert had been. However, once the experiments were run, it didn't take long for Victor to declare that Goosey's analysis showed a radioactive decay chain almost identical to what Robert had predicted. Not only had they just discovered element 118, but it had decayed into element 116 as well. That's two new elements discovered from a single test that nobody thought was going to work in the first place. And it was all thanks to Victor and Goosey. How is this real? Really? However, the lead researcher, Darlene Hoffman, wasn't ready to start popping the champagne just yet. Excellent, Darlene. I'm glad to hear that, because it just sounds like he's making shit up from his magic Goosey box.
Sounds a bit rude!
She made sure that all the equipment was checked and double-checked for any errors before running the experiment again to confirm the results. While it occurred to her that the readings may have been incorrect or some sort of error could have provided a false positive, it never occurred to her that Victor would be faking the reports from Goosey. And why would it? He was a respected physicist and was supposed to be a leading expert, so it would be weird if she assumed it was all a lie. The next test was believed to be a success as well, so the team at Berkeley went ahead and published their paper. It was a huge day for everybody involved. This is the sort of thing that gets people Nobel Prizes, and sometimes people can be stingy when it comes to sharing credit. However, everybody's name was on this paper, and I do mean everybody. If you were a grad student who worked on the cyclotron for just one day, your name got included. It was extremely exciting for the university and for science as a whole. Unfortunately, as time went on and other labs failed to reproduce the results from what was supposed to be an extremely simple experiment, suspicions arose. In 2001, another test was conducted at Berkeley, and again, Victor reported that data showed decay of element 118. However, in the 2 years that had passed since their previous tests, others had become experts with Goosey, including postdoctoral researcher Doc Peterson. Wanting to do their diligence, Doc checked the data provided by Goosey. When he checked it, it did not show the information Victor had claimed was recorded. They dug deeper, examining the tens of thousands of pages of printed data. Each page had 63 to 68 lines of text on it. But the page with Victor's amazing discovery had 76 lines. He had thrown the original data into a text editor and added the necessary lines that would support his claim before printing it out. Holy shit. That all it took.
Easy money.
Berkeley was forced to retract the paper, and the reputation of the entire lab was thrown into question. Victor, you're regretting putting your name on that paper, aren't you, grad student? Victor may have been a rogue scientist acting alone, while others believed he was acting in good faith, but for nobody to have caught this mistake indicated that there may have been serious problems with how Berkeley was running things. Of course, it also called GSI and their discoveries of elements 110 to 112 into question as well. GSI reviewed their data, and what they found was even more shocking. Victor had used Goosey to falsify data while at GSI as well. I mean,
At least he's consistent.
you gotta be like, yeah, it's shocking, but after, if you're looking into it because you were already shocked, you're probably like, oh, fuck, I hope it's good, oh, it's not good. And that's fine. The shocking part is that he didn't fake all of the data. Even though he was manipulating Goosey to provide the team with false positives, they were getting legitimate positive results as well. Despite the fraud he perpetrated, it was decided that since he provided genuine contributions to the project as well, Victor would retain his title as one of the co-discoverers of those elements. I mean, yeah, because he did co-discover them. He also just made some other shit up. That was not the case with element 118, so Victor didn't get to name the element Nivonium after himself. Instead, it was the Russians who legitimately discovered element 118, now known as Ognesen after Yuri Ognesian. But nobody lost more from all of this than Darlene. Oh no! As this wasn't the first time credit for discovering an element was snatched back from her fingertips.
Just like a woman.
Back in 1952, Darlene had accepted a job at Los Alamos National Laboratory. She was supposed to be working on codenamed Project Panda to analyze samples retrieved from nuclear bomb testing. When she arrived at Los Alamos, the HR department turned her away on the basis that a woman couldn't possibly be a chemist. Oh my god, wait, I'm just watching a TV show about this called Lessons in Chemistry. It's on Apple, maybe? It's really good. It's really sad. Like, I just saw the second episode, no spoiler alert, but you're like, oh no. No! It took a full year for them to finally let her start the job, but in the time between her first arriving and actually being let into the lab, the team discovered elements 99 and 100. They were eventually named Einsteinium and Fermium after Enrico Fermi and Albert Einstein, although I like the original plan better. Because the operation was codenamed Project Panda, the first name proposed for Einsteinium was Pandemonium. That's amazing. As for Ninov, he was essentially forced into retirement at the age of 42 following the discovery that he was a giant fucking phony. Arsenic life. It's been over a decade now, but if I were to mention a NASA press conference from December of 2010 when they announced the discovery of an arsenic-based bacteria, you may have some slight tinge of recognition. Yes, I remember this. I remember there being like, NASA's going to make a huge announcement tomorrow or something, and I was like, holy shit. NASA's like, actually, it was in the press that they're going to make a huge announcement. And I was like, oh my God, it's aliens. They're finally confirming it's aliens. Aliens are coming. Aliens are coming. Aliens. And NASA's like, arsenic life. And I'm like, okay, that's important. But I mean, what about the aliens? I thought it was going to be aliens. And I think it turns out that it wasn't even real. After all, it was massive news when the story broke. This alleged discovery was presented by Felissa Wolf-Simon, a geomicrobiologist who was working at NASA as an astrobiologist at the US Geological Survey. At a 2008 conference and later in a 2009 paper, Felissa proposed that it would be possible for various forms of life to use arsenic as a substitute for phosphorus in their DNA. That may sound crazy to you. It would if I know what you were talking about.
I don't understand. I don't understand, bitch. I don't understand.
Since arsenic is known for being highly toxic, yes, but it sounded equally crazy to the scientific community. But in 2010, she got to lead a NASA-funded search specifically trying to find an organism using arsenic in its DNA. And wouldn't you know it, person goes looking for thing and person finds the exact thing they're looking for. Felissa discovered a strain of bacteria known as GFAJ1.
Who names these things anyway?
That allegedly had the exact property that she was hunting for. Discovered in Mono Lake, California, a lake that is naturally rich with arsenic. That sounds terrifying. The bacteria was reportedly able to replace a certain percentage of the phosphorus in its DNA with arsenic when no phosphorus was available. She and her team published their findings in Science, and I know of two academic journals, Science and Nature. And they're like the big boys. Followed by, in late 2010, followed by her long NASA news conference. The discovery was a total game changer for multiple reasons. First, it had huge implications for what extraterrestrial life might look like and increased the number of planets that could potentially contain life. But more importantly and more concerningly, it claimed to disprove a century of well-established chemistry that had all but proven that arsenic is, well, poisonous. And not just for humans, for all cellular life. Many scientists would have been happy to completely disregard Felissa's findings. It was a lone experiment that attempted to contradict countless precedents. That obviously doesn't mean it was wrong, as science is open to having established beliefs challenged and disproven. But, as any scientist will tell you, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, and Felissa's paper did not meet that criteria. Still, it had been a major international story, so there were scientists that sought to either replicate or disprove her results for the sake of setting the record straight. It's unclear whether Felissa's claim was the result of fraud or falsifying data,
If you were the boy was diagnosed with mesothelioma,
or if it was simple poor methodology and the misinterpreting of data. There's actually a reasonable chance that it was the latter, because when people sought to question her results, she did what any good scientist would do and sent them samples that she had collected to run their own tests. Yeah, this just sounds like some of the other ones today were like, that you made shit up, didn't you, mate? You goosey trickster. But this sounds like just science didn't go quite right. While that makes me want to believe it could have been negligence rather than deliberate fraud, let's not forget that Victor had told everybody how to make element 118 and claimed that it was super easy to do. Of course, confirming that Felissa's results were incorrect was going to take time, which left plenty of time to continue spreading the sensationalized story. Ah yes, the media. She appeared in Time magazine's Time 100, the list of the most 100 influential people of the year, alongside the likes of Joe Biden, Oprah Winfrey, and Kim Jong-un. I'm guessing that Kim did not attend the Winners' Gala in New York. No, he did not. And then, after, it's also like, you're not on that list necessarily because because of a good thing. It's like Hitler was Time's Man of the Year. It's not about being good, it's about being notable. And that's not always good. Innotability could be a a term we could use.
Yeah, no, we won't. You can, though.
And then, after Felissa had risen to celebrity status and shocked the world with their incredible scientific discovery, the lab results came in from everybody fact-checking her work. Not only was there no arsenic in GFAJ1, but the bacteria did everything it could to avoid arsenic, because it's fucking poisonous. But considering that Felissa's personal website still links to her 2011 TED Talk where she explains arsenic lifeforms, it doesn't seem that her opinion has changed despite the overwhelming scientific evidence that she was wrong. Or maybe she just forgot to remove the link. Like, she does seem like a scientist that when it was challenged, she was like, yeah, okay, here's the samples. Please take a look. I'm looking for people to question my work. Maybe it's just a dead link. I feel like I'm just giving her the reasonable,
The benefit of the doubt.
doubt? Not reasonable doubt. I'm giving her a reasonable shake here.
The benefit of the doubt.
At least her legacy will live on in the strain of Halomonadaceae bacteria that she discovered and ironically named GFAJ1. I bet you thought that it was just a genetic scientific name, but it's actually an acronym.
Ooh, is my face red?
GFAJ stands for Give Felissa a Job.
You serious?
Highlighting her desire to finally be given a permanent position rather than essentially being a freelance contractor. The bacteria had very much the opposite effect as she was fired from her job following the discrediting of her work, followed by a large gap in her resume. It just goes to show that if you're going to turn the name of your newly discovered strain of bacteria into a passive-aggressive memo to your employer, you should probably double-check your work. And that's where we end today's video. Thanks for watching. Am I thinking about executions?
Yes. Yes, you are.